removed her. So civil complaint, simply allegations, needs to be proven in a court of law. But if true, it could rise to the level of criminality. And, we'll see what happens, or if the DA looks and investigates.
It's interesting because, obviously this civil suit was coming for a while.
Yep.
And there was some talk between Busby and Jay-Z's lawyers. I think both Busby and Jay-Z's lawyers are really alphas.
Federal agents weren't looking for a scandal when they raided Diddy's properties, but what they found has set off a chain reaction that no one in Hollywood could have prepared for. Hidden among the usual trappings of celebrity excess, opulent furnishings, extravagant collections, and vaults of memorabilia was something far more sinister. Hard drives, tapes, and digital files containing footage that could destroy some of the biggest names in the entertainment industry. And at the center of it all, Jay-Z and Beyonce, the untouchable power couple who now find themselves in the crosshairs of a scandal so explosive it threatens to shatter their carefully curated image.
But after that major documentary comes out on Diddy, then you're going to start to hear more and more about Jay-Z and his nefarious past.
The allegations are almost too wild to believe, but the whispers started immediately. Homeland Security agents reportedly unearthed compromising footage from Diddy's personal archives, footage that allegedly shows celebrities in situations so scandalous, so deeply incriminating, that it's hard to fathom how any of them will recover if the details go public. And the Carters? Their names are being thrown around like confetti in the chaos of this unfolding drama. The word on the street is that Diddy, feeling betrayed by Jay-Z and Beyonce's lack of support during his mounting legal troubles, has decided to take everyone down with him. And if the rumors are true, he's sitting on a treasure trove of receipts that could bring the entire industry to its knees. Imagine this: a private party hosted by Diddy, the kind of exclusive soiree only the most elite celebrities ever get invited to. The room is filled with the biggest names in music, film, and sports, people who have spent decades building their brands, their legacies, their empires. But behind the velvet ropes, beyond the Instagram-friendly photo ops, something else is happening. These are not just parties. They're alleged to be orchestrated setups, meticulously designed environments where boundaries blur, inhibitions crumble, and every moment is captured on camera. And those cameras, they aren't just for memories. They're for leverage.
10 years.
Oh, Mr. Diddy, aka Mr. Love. Now, Dr.
No, Sean Carter.
Insiders are claiming that these infamous gatherings, now being dubbed freak-offs by those in the know, were more than your average celebrity bacchanal. They were traps. Attendees thought they were mingling with their peers in a safe, private space. What they didn't know, or perhaps didn't want to know, was that every move, every whispered conversation, every questionable interaction was being recorded. And now those recordings are in the hands of federal authorities. The implications are staggering. While Diddy's motivations remain murky, one theory gaining traction is that this is his way of leveling the playing field. If he's going down, he's not going alone. Sources close to the investigation suggest that Diddy intentionally handed over incriminating material as part of a desperate bid to negotiate his own legal survival. And who better to target than Jay-Z and Beyonce, the golden couple, who, depending on who you ask, either distanced themselves from Diddy when the heat turned up or actively worked against him behind the scenes. The betrayal cuts deep, and Diddy's alleged revenge strategy is as calculated as it is ruthless.
If that's part of the indictment, that's somewhat like a blackmail. He was blackmailing people to be in the freak-offs. So that's federal. That could be that's a federal charge. He can't blackmail people to say, yo, listen here, you did it once and you're gonna do it again. That ain't gonna make it with the government or nobody.
Adding to the chaos is the resurfacing of an old yet unresolved narrative. Jaguar Wright, the outspoken industry whistleblower, has long hinted at the dark underbelly of Hollywood's most exclusive circles. She's accused the Carters of being complicit in, and beneficiaries of, a toxic culture that thrives on power plays and blackmail. Her claims, once dismissed as the rantings of a disgruntled outsider, are now being revisited with fresh urgency. And with Diddy's tapes reportedly backing up some of her accusations, the narrative is spiraling out of control. It's not just about the parties. The allegations go deeper, pointing to a network of manipulation and exploitation that spans decades. Some of the footage reportedly implicates multiple A-listers in scenarios that could lead to serious legal consequences, not to mention the kind of reputational ruin that no PR machine could ever fix. And yet, the Carters have remained eerily silent. No statements, no denials, no carefully crafted social media posts addressing the rumors. Their legal team, however, has been anything but quiet.
As far as, is he going to turn people in? Is he going to cooperate? If the federal government wants him to cooperate and they're going to cut his time, because right now he's looking at 15 to life. With all the charges he has to, he won't get out till 70 years old. He about 70. That's when they start talking about letting him come to a halfway house.
Beyonce's lawyers have reportedly been working overtime, issuing cease and desist letters to media outlets, pressuring platforms to scrub interviews, and threatening anyone who dares to amplify the more damning allegations. It's a classic defensive move, but in this case, it seems to have had the opposite effect. The more they try to silence the story, the louder it gets. And the internet, it's in full meltdown mode. Fans and critics alike are dissecting every move, every word, every moment of conspicuous silence from the Carters. The question on everyone's lips: if they're innocent, why aren't they speaking out? And then there's the chilling detail that has everyone on edge: the involvement of minors. While the specifics remain unconfirmed, the mere suggestion has sent shockwaves through both Hollywood and the general public. Allegations of underage attendees being lured, manipulated, and compromised at these so-called parties are the kind of claims that could lead to criminal charges, not just for Diddy, but for anyone who was present and complicit. And if the Carters were there, as some sources claim, their silence could be interpreted as something far more sinister than mere damage control.
Sean had to take responsibility for what he did as an individual. Sean is the one who pulled that gun out. Sean is the one who shot. So he has to take responsibility for that.
The raid on Diddy's properties has also reignited questions about Kim Porter, his late ex-partner and the mother of 3 of his children. Before her untimely passing, Porter was reportedly working on a tell-all book that would have exposed some of the industry's darkest secrets. According to those close to her, she knew too much. Now, with Diddy's tapes allegedly matching some of the claims she hinted at before her demise, the circumstances surrounding her passing are being scrutinized like never before. Was she silenced? And if so, who else is at risk now that the tapes are out in the open? Meanwhile, Beyoncé's mother, Tina Knowles, has been dragged into the fray, albeit indirectly. A social media mishap involving Tina liking a comment about the allegations against Jay-Z raised eyebrows and fueled speculation about where her loyalties lie. Though Tina later claimed her account was hacked, the damage was already done. The internet, ever hungry for drama, seized on the moment as further proof that the cracks in the Carter empire are starting to show.
Jay-Z got his by his sister-in-law on camera. What's her name?
Right.
Solange. You got it. The feds ain't step in and do nothing. The feds don't care about you getting your whooped.
But the most damning blow may come not from the court of public opinion, but from the legal system itself. Attorneys representing alleged victims are reportedly preparing to file lawsuits that could name not just Diddy, but also the Carters and other high-profile attendees of these infamous gatherings. The evidence, if it exists, could transform this from a tabloid scandal into a courtroom drama with stakes that go far beyond reputations. And as more alleged victims step forward, the narrative is shifting from one of celebrity gossip to one of systemic abuse and accountability. Yet, even as the walls close in, Jay-Z and Beyoncé are playing their cards close to the chest. Their strategy, if you can call it that, appears to be one of calculated inaction. But is it a sign of confidence or fear? Are they relying on their wealth, influence, and connections to shield them from the fallout? Or are they, as some have suggested, preparing for a battle so intense that they can't afford to make a single misstep?
Are scared of him. I think they more so, they don't want him to embarrass their reputation and things that they've been known for. You understand? I think that...
And here's where things take an even darker turn. Whispers are circulating that some of the footage may already be leaking onto the dark web. Private forums and underground networks are allegedly buzzing with screenshots and clips that, if authenticated, would not only confirm some of the most shocking allegations, but also ensure that these tapes live on forever, beyond the reach of lawyers or PR teams. For the Carters, the stakes are no longer just about avoiding legal consequences. They're about preserving a legacy that has taken decades to build. But with every passing day, it seems that legacy is slipping further and further out of their control. And if you thought the whisperers couldn't get any darker, just wait. Because now the focus has shifted to the victims. Those who allegedly found themselves caught in the tangled web of these elite gatherings, and the stories they're starting to share are nothing short of horrifying. One alleged victim, whose legal team has already submitted a detailed filing, claims she was lured to one of these events under the guise of a career opportunity. She believed she was auditioning for a role in a music video, an offer that came directly from a well-known industry insider with ties to both Diddy and Jay-Z. But instead of a legitimate opportunity, she says she walked into a nightmare.
This morning, rap mogul Jay-Z is denying allegations he assaulted a 13-year-old girl alongside rapper Sean Diddy Combs. That civil lawsuit filed against Combs in October was amended Sunday to include Jay-Z. The accuser, identified only as Jane Doe, says she was assaulted by both men.
The details are chilling. According to her account, the party was held at a sprawling mansion in Miami, complete with underground rooms that were allegedly off limits to most of the guests. She claims she was given a drink upon arrival, a drink she now believes was tampered with. And soon after, she began to feel She recalls being led into one of these private rooms by individuals she recognized from the entertainment world, though she says their faces blurred as her condition worsened. What happened next is the subject of her lawsuit, and while we can't repeat her exact words here, the implications alone have been enough to send shockwaves through the industry. But here's the kicker. She's not the only one stepping forward. In the weeks following the raid on Diddy's properties, over a dozen similar accounts have surfaced, many of them pointing to the same locations, the same parties, and disturbingly, the same high-profile names. Victims are alleging they were flown in from various cities, often with promises of stardom or professional connections, only to find themselves in environments where their autonomy was stripped away. Legal filings indicate that some of these individuals have provided evidence, photos, text messages, even medical records that corroborate their claims. And while no official charges have been filed against the Carters yet, their names keep coming up in these stories, raising uncomfortable questions about their presence at these events.
In a blistering statement, Jay-Z accuses Jane Doe's attorney of trying to blackmail him. He said further, quote, "These allegations are so heinous in nature that I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. Whomever would commit such a crime against a minor should be locked away. Would you?"
Meanwhile, lawyers for the alleged victims are painting a picture of a system that's been designed to protect the powerful at all costs. One attorney, who has represented clients in similar high-profile cases, described the operation as a fortress of wealth and influence. He claims that the individuals running these gatherings were meticulous in controlling the narrative, ensuring that any potential leaks were swiftly silenced through non-disclosure agreements, intimidation, or worse. And with Diddy's tapes now in the equation, there's a growing belief that this fortress is beginning to crumble. But let's talk about the tapes for a moment, because they've become the centerpiece of this entire scandal. According to insiders familiar with the ongoing investigation, these recordings don't just implicate celebrities, they reveal an entire infrastructure of exploitation. We're talking about coordinated efforts to lure attendees, ensure their compliance, and document their actions for later use. Law enforcement sources have hinted that some of the footage includes timestamps and metadata that could place specific individuals at specific locations, leaving little room for denial. And yes, the Carters' names have reportedly appeared in connection with these timestamps, though their legal team has vehemently denied any wrongdoing.
I want to start with just the statement from Jay-Z, which is so forceful in its denial. I just read a teeny part of it, it's long, where he says that they should file a criminal complaint. Is that even possible at this point?
Still, the silence from Jay-Z and Beyonce has been deafening. For a couple that's built an empire on their image of perfection, flawless performances, carefully curated interviews, and a level of privacy that borders on obsessive, their refusal to address these allegations is becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. Fans are divided, with some defending them as victims of a smear campaign and others demanding answers. Social media is ablaze with speculation. Why won't they speak out? Are they waiting for their legal team to craft the perfect response, or are they hoping the storm will pass if they simply lay low? Either way, their inaction is speaking volumes to a public that's hungry for accountability. And behind the scenes, however, the Carters are reportedly scrambling to contain the fallout. Sources close to the couple have revealed that they've been holding emergency meetings with their legal and PR teams, exploring every possible avenue to shield themselves from the growing scandal. One insider claims they've even considered taking legal action against Diddy himself, accusing him of orchestrating a campaign to drag their names through the mud. But would such a move backfire? After all, if Diddy really does have the kind of evidence it's being whispered about, any legal confrontation could potentially force those tapes into the public eye, a risk the Carters likely can't afford to take.
Now, he, of course, is more than annoyed, would be an understatement.
Yeah.
He has a family and he has a lot to protect, including his brand. But to the extent that he's saying, hey, come after me criminally, that could be likely. Why do I say that? Because in New York, and what's alleged in this complaint is forcible compulsion. What that means in English is that it's saying that he held her down.
And then there's the question of who else might be implicated. Reports suggest that the tapes don't just feature the Carters and Diddy, but a veritable who's who of Hollywood in the music industry. Names are being whispered in back channels, and while no one has gone on record yet, the fear is palpable. Former friends and collaborators are distancing themselves from Diddy, scrubbing their social media accounts of any connection to him. Even LeBron James, who's been named in some of the lawsuits as a witness to events at these parties, has remained conspicuously silent. A stark contrast to his usual outspoken nature. It's as if the entire industry is holding its breath, waiting to see who gets named next. But let's not forget the broader implications here. If these allegations hold up, and if the tapes are as damning as insiders claim, this isn't just about individual reputations. This is about an entire culture of secrecy and exploitation that's been allowed to thrive behind the glittering facade of fame and fortune. The entertainment industry has long been criticized for its lack of accountability. But this scandal could very well be the tipping point, with federal investigators reportedly preparing to bring charges against multiple individuals. The days of sweeping these kinds of stories under the rug may finally be coming to an end.
That, of course, the allegation is that Mr. Combs did the same thing. And so if those facts are actually accurate, it would require an investigation by prosecutors. And if true, right, you could pursue it criminally.
So, where do we go from here? Will the Carters finally break their silence, or will they continue to rely on their legal team to do the talking? Will Diddy's alleged arsenal of evidence bring down some of the biggest names in Hollywood, or will it be dismissed as a desperate ploy by a man with nothing left to lose? And most importantly, what about the victims? Will their stories finally be heard, or will they be drowned out by the noise of celebrity spin and damage control? And let us know what you think down below, because this story is far from over, and we'll see you in the next one.